In this video, we're going to be talking about debit card versus credit card and what you need to know. Stick around. Welcome back to Dollars with Dennis. My name is Dennis Dunn, and today we're going to be talking about debit card versus credit card and what you need to know. So let's start with the debit card first. All right. A debit card is issued to you from your bank. All right. And it's connected to your checking account. So every time you use this card, it takes the money automatically out of your checking account and pays whatever you use it for. All right. With a credit card, you use it. All right. It's usually most times from a separate bank. Okay. And you use the card and they pay the bill and then you have to pay the bank back. So they send you a bill saying, okay, you owe us this amount of money plus interest if you don't pay it off right away. The problem being is the debit card. The debit card, since it's attached to your checking account, let's say now you're buying gas or you're at the supermarket and, and somebody messed with the credit card scanner, okay, and put a skimmer in there. What happens is they get your number, okay, that's attached to your checking account and they drain your checking account. Okay, so then you got to call the bank, you got to cancel the card, they reissue you one in another 10 to 14 business days, right? You have no debit card until you get the new one because they froze your account. So you have to go to the bank and either get cash or you have nothing to use. Plus, when that happens, you have to file a police report, okay? And then they do an investigation, and then hopefully and eventually you get your money back. All right. Not all the time does that happen, but it does happen. All right. So that's why you have to be very careful with a debit card. Same thing if you're purchasing stuff online. Okay. If it's a sneaky vendor, all right, they will get your financial information, all right, and drain your account. So it's just really, it's a pain, all right. Now, with the credit card, okay, the credit cards are issued through the big banks, all right, and the MasterCard and Visa logo, American Express, Discover, all right. And what usually happens is if you make a purchase on this, all right, and there's a problem with it, there's usually purchase protection on the credit card. All right. You call the bank, you tell them what your problem is, and they usually can correct it for you. All right. There's been many times where I got charged for something. It was like a subscription of some type. All right. And I was trying to cancel it. And what would happen is I would contact the company, right? The company would ignore me and they would just keep charging me the subscription fee. So I called the bank and I told them what was going on. So they were like, all right, listen, you need to send us basically a snapshot that you contacted the bank or a copy of the email that you sent the to the company saying that you want to um, cancel your subscription. So once you do that, you give it to the bank. Then the bank puts in a stop payment on it. All right, and you have no more problems. All right. So you know, if you use a debit card, You could have a lot of problems depending on where you shop and how you use it. If you have a credit card, okay, you're protected more than a debit card. All right. So, in the digital day and age, all right, I wouldn't be using a debit card, guys. I'd be using a credit card. Now, you're saying to me, well, I don't want to get into credit card debt and I don't want to do this and that. I'm going to give you guys a real tip here. All right. This is a debit card. This is a credit card. If you can use the credit card like you use the debit card, all right, you know what I do with my credit card? As soon as I use it, I go into my online banking on my checking account and I pay it right away, like if it was a debit card. So if you can use your credit card like a debit card, okay, you won't get yourself into credit card debt. You'll also keep your credit utilization down, all right, and your credit score will probably go up, all right. So that's a good thing. Now, another thing, like I said, with the purchase protection, all right, if you're using this to buy stuff online or at the store, if you're buying electronics, okay, there's no protection on a debit card. But if you use a credit card, okay, you got protection that you can call the bank if something happened to it or got lost or stolen, you can get reimbursed, okay? And there's not many debit cards that offer cash back on purchases. There are a few, but not many, okay? I would say 95% of the debit cards do not have a cash back feature. But on the credit cards, all right, cash back is all the rage. So people are saving money. The bank is literally paying you to use their credit cards. Okay. This card right here, I get 1.8% cash back. So if I got to get some work done on the car, I got to get an oil change, or I need new tires, all right, this is the card I use. All right. Because I get cash back every time I use it. And you know what? I let the cash back build up. And you know what happens? It pays for my next oil change. So I can't complain. All right. But listen, guys, this can get you into a lot of trouble because they can steal the money out of your account. All right. You can get left holding the bag waiting for a new card. All right. How many times have you heard a friend saying, oh, I was on vacation and I went to go use my debit card at the ATM machine that sucked it in and I had no money? All right. That happened to a friend of mine in Greece. All right. Also happened to me in Dublin, Ireland. All right. It's not a fun thing to happen to you while you're on vacation. All right. So listen, the debit card is a good way to get cash. That's how I use mine. If I need cash, I go to an ATM. All right, I get some cash with my debit card. All right, but I'm always buying stuff with my credit card because I'm getting cash back from the bank. I'm getting protection from the bank. All right, and if something happens, I call the bank and I says, I got a faulty charge or I never made this charge. They take care of it. All right. And it's easy peasy. So, do you want problems, debit, or do you want easy peasy with a credit card? All right. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. All right. And guys, like I said, if you use a credit card like you use a debit card, you'll never get in credit card debt. All right. So just remember that you got protection from the bank, you got purchase protection, all right, you got fraud protection. There's all, and you get reimbursed. It's usually not a problem with the credit cards, all right? But when you're left holding the bag, when you have a debit card because it got sucked into an ATM or they scammed your info off of it, you don't want to deal with that, guys. So now you know the difference, all right? And if I was you, I would be using my credit card more often. So listen, that's going to be it for this video. If you liked the content, all right, give us a thumbs up. All right, make sure you hit that subscribe button. All right, and we'll let you know the next time that we're making another video. And we thank you for watching. So, guys, take care.